Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Surah Al-Baqarah, Chapter 2, and we will cover verses 151 to 156, explaining the meaning of Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un, which is normally translated as that we have come from Allah and we are going back to Him. But its meaning is far wider than what is normally understood. These are the references, and over here I should point out that some meanings have been taken from volume 1. So wherever these are quoted from volume 1, I have mentioned volume 1 as well. But where only page numbers are given, these are from volume 3. And this is our contact. Outline of today's presentation. By pointing to the model of the messenger, the Quran informs us that he, that is the messenger, is carrying out the important role of the teaching of the book, including its hikmat. Hikmat means that the rationale reasoning behind every precept, value, attribute noted in the Quran, and guides Momineen who have accepted Eimaan in self-development. This striving is part of the Dhikr. Again, we will briefly explain this term as well, of Allah, so that all those latent potentials kept within human beings start to manifest in the outer world, which provide loftiness and eminence to the human self. We have gone over these aspects previously as well, but we should keep in mind that we are all born with certain latent potentials. And some of these potentials, we turn them into abilities within the man-made system. But there are a number of other abilities which do not come out unless we establish the system of Deen and work within the values of the Quran. The Jamaat Momineen is instructed to seek guidance and help in every matter of theirs and to obey the book and remain steadfast and patient on this path. Do not become distracted on this path of Allah. It is possible that while striving on this path, an occasion may arise where physical life may end early, i.e. may be laid down in the cause of Allah as part of striving together within Jamaat Momineen. In that case, always keep in mind that this death will not end life, but life will continue in the hereafter, that is at the level of the self. Next is, due to the Taghuti system, which is all man-made systems are Taghuti according to the Quran, in place, that is when there is no Deen, there may be losses experienced during the process of establishing Deen. Confront these squarely for this lofty aim. Because when Deen comes, obviously it is opposite to the man-made system, and there is bound to be confrontation, there is bound to be friction, and there is bound to be some opposition to it. Always refer back to the book of Allah in every matter once the decision is made to stay on this path as a companion of Allah. Remember, the divine law supports the Jamaat Momineen. With this introduction, we go to the first verse of today's presentation, verse 151, one important role of the messenger outlined. Kama arsalna fikum rasulum minkum yatlu alaykum ayatina wa yuzakkikum wa yuallimukum al-kitaba wal hikma wa yuallimukum ma lam takunu ta'lamun. And for this purpose, we have sent this Rasool, that is the messenger, to you, so that he communicates this message of ours to you, gives you teaching of the book and hikmat, which is wisdom, rationality, reason, i.e. teaches you what is the law of Allah, that is of the book, and what is its goal and purpose, i.e. tells you all that which you knew not before. And this is an important point to be noted over here, that without the Quran, we cannot get guidance which is noted in the Quran. So a lot of people feel that we can still be guided without the Quran. They are wrong. They can never ever get guidance which is in the Quran. So Quran is the only source of guidance for human beings. If you had known this, then there would have been no need to send wahi to you. And regarding this guidance, if we think that we should accept it as a challenge and go through the Quran ourselves and then figure it out whether we think like the Quran or it is something different from the normal thinking of human beings in the world. And together with this, train you so that the potentials of yourself keep on developing, remain acting on this program, and then see for yourselves how the destination itself gravitates towards you. The question arises here that how did the messenger receive the education, training, and self-development from the Quran? And this is a very interesting question, that Quran says that it is the messenger who is doing it to others. Then how did messenger get it himself? And this is something which we need to think about and reflect, and we will deal with that subsequently in one of the slides. He only received the revelation. This means we need to look at the layout of the Quran and its arrangement and its relationship with the rational mind. Next slide is Deen requires education, training, and self-development. Just like all man-made systems which require education, training, and the acquisition of skills, experience in order to draw its benefits, the Quran has highlighted this aspect from the beginning to the end. What is noted in this verse is related to the messenger who has acquired an eminent self through his own choice and efforts, and is now in a position to help Momineen to acquire this self-development. What is the aim of this? It is stated, for example, in another verse, Kitabun anzalnahu alayka litukhrijan nasa minal zulumati ilan nur. O Rasool, O Messenger, we have sent down this book on you, so that through this you can take mankind from zulmat, and zulmat is darknesses, towards nur, that is light. And darknesses need to be removed through light. Wherever there is darkness, it means there is no light over there. So the Quran calls itself light and says that all the darknesses which you experience as human beings within the man-made system, these can be addressed through this light of Allah. Then elucidated it through a past example. وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا مُوسَى بِآيَاتِنَا أَنْ أَخْرِجْ قَوْمَكَ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. We sent Messenger Musa back to Egypt with our code of laws with this purpose, in order that he could take his nation out of darknesses towards the light. So Quran illustrates its message through various examples of the messengers and previous nations. This means that in order to come out of these darknesses, we need to first recognize these darknesses. And physical darknesses one can recognize, but the darknesses which exist within the human cognition we need to make a lot of effort for that. And we have to be dissatisfied with the decision making which exists within the man-made systems. And for this we need to acquire good knowledge, then to look for solutions to these problems facing humanity. And that holds the key, that we should identify the problems and then see that how these problems can be resolved, and how human intellect is trying to resolve these problems, and how the intellect working and guided by the Quran is going to deal with these problems. The next stage is to come to grips with the guidance of the Quran in order to comprehend the alternative system called Deen presented by it. Then to offer ourselves through our choice to tread on this path. And this is the beauty of the Quran, is that it tells each individual who is seeking guidance from the Quran that don't despair, don't become hopeless. You are as important as anyone else. So numbers are not important. Present your own self for this task and then see how the things start changing within your own self as well as within the community in which you are living. Allahu waliyul lazina amanu yukhrijuhum minal zulumati ilan nur. This Jamaat of Momineen has the support and supervision of Allah, which will take them from zulmat towards nur. So on this platform, we are not only understanding zulmat, but we are also understanding the application of the light which is provided by the Quran in solving these issues. Now, next slide is what is in the Quran. I've made 2 slides over here, and we will go through some salient points of interest. The Quran describes the human psyche in connection with all states of development of a human society. And this is an amazing thing. When we approach the Quran, we have seen that Quran deals with the human psyche in detail and also deals with various values, which if this human psyche accepts, then that brings change within them, and also deals with rise and fall of nations and attributes of Allah. That is, it presents that concept of Allah which serves as a model for each human being. From very chaotic societies to a fully developed system of Deen. However, we need to develop our intellect through education and training, and then through the process of the development of the self to be able to understand and relate to our world. So one thing we should know, that it is not about just merely reading the Quran, it is to interact with others. And that is why we have this platform to discuss, to exchange views on that according to our understanding. The layout of the Quran is such that it includes within it the procedure and mechanism relating to the human psyche for those who approach it with total dedication aimed at addressing human problems created by unbridled human intellect, emotions, and desires. So the way Quran is laid out, if we look at it very carefully and of course rationally, we will see that the Quran guides us about its teaching itself. So that is what the messenger did. As progressively he received the revelation, so all those who became Momineen, then he used to discuss with them. In the first stage, when there is no system of Deen, individuals who are seeking guidance need to study it and apply it extensively within the constraints of their society, but never giving up. And that is an important point over here which I have highlighted, and Quran all along says, do not give up, be patient and steadfast. First, Eimaan has to be acquired, and we have gone through this verse 256, and then Amal Saleh, and we should go through this verse 177. As noted in the Quran, need to be carried out by us on a continuous basis. There should be a very strong desire created within us and the need for the system of Deen. We should intellectually reject the man-made system and its injustices across the world. We need to be fully committed to this process of change within us and check our self-state of development using the Quranic criteria and standards, and guidance is provided for that. That means we should know the Quranic criteria and value system so that we can apply it to the events taking place around us. The Quran is a procedure to seek Allah's help as per law against the pharaonic powers of the world. The first stage is to develop individually and then come together and gradually grow in understanding together. And that is our aim on this platform, that we reach that level of understanding of the system of Deen and then see what happens in that process of education, training, and self-development. The next slide is also continuing on the same theme. Guidance for mankind as an external standard, but only if people seek it. And this is an important point which we have gone over many times, that Quran only makes sense to those who are seeking guidance. If they're reading the Quran academically, analyzing it, studying it, but not seeking guidance, then they will not benefit as far as the self-development is concerned. They will learn the verses. You can ask them and they will be able to repeat a lot of verses and quote them and provide references, but their hearts and mind will not change. It deals with the development of the human intellect. If we acquire those characteristics, then we can acquire help to understand and to be able to solve human problems. Those problems which arise in the man-made systems created by a non-Quranic intellect. And this is another important point, that under the non-Quranic intellect, when these people approach the Quran and despite understanding what the message is, but since their own self is not developed, that change does not come within their own self, they always feel that nothing is happening in the world. But those who acquire Eimaan and then do Saleh Deeds and then come together like our platform over here, they realize that there is a long journey ahead of them and it will take time. And they have to first go through the Quran as a system of Deen. From beginning to end, it is one complete reality. It cannot be accepted in parts. This is called shirk in the Quranic terms if we take out parts which suit us and reject the rest. However, according to the state of development of a society, we can start to act on it. Because once we go through the Quran and the society in which we are living, we find it at a certain stage of its development. Quran provides us guidance and direction to move on from that particular stage. This reality has various constituents which need to be studied and understood, and then a self and selves needs to be developed in accordance with this value system called Deen. It has divine attributes, permanent values, various human models, individual and collective human models, because if those human beings could do it, so can we. Various scenarios dealing with various parts of human psyche, various explanations of the way the human psyche functions, explanations of different states of human psyche, all requisite laws and guidance on various issues of the human society. It also contains signs of the outer world, etc. We go to the next slide, which is verse 152, 3 terms highlighted for guidance. Fazkuruni azkurkum washkuruli wala takfurun. In this way, keep the aim of life defined by us before your eyes, and that is Fazkuruni. The supreme favor which has been bestowed on you, value it, and that is do shukr, that is the manifestation of our abilities in the outer world as a result of getting education and training. Do not let this code disappear from your sights. The next slide is the meaning of Dhikr, which is mentioned in this verse. The basic meanings of Dhikr are to keep something constantly in mind, to not let it disappear from view, to declare it to be the aim of life, to bring it repeatedly before your eyes for this reason that it should not somehow be forgotten, and to refresh its remembrance. All this is included in the interpretation of Dhikr. Dhikr does not mean to keep repeating some words as happens under the domain of sectarian Islam. Because with that kind of a dhikr, by repeating various words, nothing changes in the outer world. We get some kind of a self-deceptive motivation that we are doing and earning some kind of unexplained reward. The purpose of the divine system is to practically implement the divine commands and laws, principles and values within society. Just like the man-made system also has its relative values. They also make certain laws which human beings make, and they implement those laws, and the system functions based on those values and laws. The Quran is the code of these laws and values. This is the constitution of this system, the Islamic State. Hence, it is essential that this divine code remains before our eyes all the time. And this is called Dhikr. All the time reminding ourselves that I have a higher purpose of life and I am working towards the system of Deen by joining others. From this respect, the Quran has been called Dhikr, Dhikr from your Rabb. Send down Dhikr on you. Surely we have sent down Dhikr. Send down Dhikr on you and other places. So I've quoted some of these verses. Over here, we can have a look in our own time. In other words, the aim of this system is the Quran. Since the Quran is the aim of life for the whole of mankind, this is why it is called Dhikrul lil Alameen. And that is for all times and for all places and for all eras. The Quranic system puts an end to all kinds of seizing and plundering, usurping and exploitation. Hence, it is the intense endeavor of groups with vested interest to make the constitutional code, that is the Quran of this system, vanish from the sights. So people will not like the Quranic system, those who wish to follow their own unbridled intellect and desires. Next slide, it is about human eminence, Dhikr, a few verses. Let us go to the first verse. لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ كِتَابًا فِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. We have sent down for you a book in which is your dhikr. That is, it has the secrets and details of your own eminence and loftiness, not only in this life, but the life of the hereafter as well. Will you then not use akal? Akal means intellect, reasoning, rational approach. All our cognitive potentials which Allah has bestowed on us as a child, we have to bring them out. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu idha nudiya lis-salati min yawmil jum'ati fas'au ila zikrillahi wa dharul bay' zalikum khairul lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. Now we have gone through this verse previously as well, which is the surah is called Surah Juma. And Quran says, O Jamaat Momineen, O those who have accepted Eimaan willingly, when the call for Juma, that is collective meeting, is proclaimed, hasten earnestly to Dhikr of Allah. That is, you should come over and see what is being discussed and leave off business. That is best for you if you knew, and ilm is required for that. That is, it is in your own interest to come, because life is all about self-development. If you fail to come, then that means you are missing that opportunity of taking yourself a step up. أَوْ أَجِبْتُمْ أَنْ جَاءَكُمْ ذِكْرٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ عَلَىٰ رَجُلٍ مِّنْكُمْ لِيُنذِرَكُمْ وَلِتَتَّقُوا وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. Do you wonder that there has come to you dhikr from your Rabb through a man from among you? And this is the beautiful part of it, that it has come from a man who is among you. He is also interested in this, then you should join him to warn you so that you become muttaqi and thus receive rahmat. So we can see that becoming muttaqi is related to human self-development. Next verse, وَتَعْصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ. We have gone through this verse many times, and I think we should keep it in our mind all the time. In fact, preferably if we can remember it by heart, that is great. And hold fast together by the rope of Allah, and be not divided among yourselves. And remember with gratitude Allah's favor, for you were adversaries, and He joined your hearts. This is a very powerful statement of fact, which we should keep in mind, that hearts can only be united through the Quran, because these are the hearts and minds which come together, and they are not only companions in this life, but they will continue to be the companions in the life of the hereafter. We go to the next verse, verse 153, 3 more points highlighted for guidance. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu ista'inu bis-sabri was-salati innallaha ma'as sabirin. We can see these verses, how short these are, and conveying so much of the message of the Quran succinctly, summarizing for us. In the path of the establishment of this system, which is the flag bearer for the good of universal humanity against the interests of insular parties and nations, very great impediments will appear, and great difficulties will be faced. The groups with vested interests will not let it be established easily. To confront these difficulties, remember 2 things. First, that whatever happens, never let resolve and courage slip from your hands. And second, that whatever path the opponents may follow, you should only follow that path which your Allah has proposed for you. As a result of this, you will achieve great strength and assurance according to the divine law. And that is why it is important to stay together, so that one provides strength to each other. Otherwise, working against the man-made system sometimes presents terrible, very strong challenges. And those challenges need to be discussed and then opposed suitably according to the circumstances. Now we go to the next slide, further elaboration of the terms which are used in this verse. In this verse, 3 words have appeared: isti'anat, sabr, and salat. The meaning of isti'anat has been explained in volume 1 under verse 4. From this is meant to achieve the development of human potentials and physical and mental strengths by obeying the divine laws, and for full balance and equilibrium to become created in them. If you remember in Surah Al-Fatiha, Quran says that these are the people who say, that after saying Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, that we follow your laws and we seek your help. As a Momineen, we make a commitment to Allah that we will follow this path which is coming next. The meaning of sabr has appeared before us in volume 2 under verse 45. It means to stand up in opposition to dangers in such a resolute manner that there is not the slightest wavering in firm-footedness, making your own self so stable that the jolts of worldly events cannot cause it to waver even the slightest. And the full explanation of Salat has appeared in volume 1 under verse 3. In principle, to continue to obey someone, to commit to someone, and to stick together. Because once we are committed to this path, then we should stay on this to get maximum benefits, not only in this life, but also in the life to come. These words have also appeared in 245, and we can see volume 2. There, after these words, it was stated, seeking isti'anat through sabr and salat is a period which is testing of great courage and a very challenging stage. Hence, this arduous task is very unpleasant for ordinary people. So by following this path, we understand that there will be challenges and difficulties. It's not an easy path because it is path of opposition. But knowingly that Allah is on the side of Momineen, one gets that kind of courage and steadfastness by going through the Quran and by staying together. Only those people can master it who adopt obedience to the divine laws with the full inclination of their hearts, and those who remain fearful of the destructive consequences of going against them. Now we go to the next verse, verse 154. Physical death is a fact of life, making it available for the cause of Allah has eternal rewards. So Quran, after giving us guidance that how should we behave on this path, now Quran comes to another extremity, saying that if in the cause of Allah and in the establishment of the system of Deen, if you have to lay down your life as well, you should not worry about it, because dead we are going to be in any case. So that means it is asking us to prepare ourselves by following the values of the Quran, by understanding the system of Deen, and then seeing the benefits of this system. وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَنْ يُقْتَلُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتٌ بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ. Remember, the shaping of the divine system in the world is not a bed of roses. It is a thorny path. And Quran is not trying to scare us, making us fearful. It is asking us to deal with these cognitive aspects by going through the Quran and establishing or strengthening our Eimaan through Saleh Deeds, and then these things will fall in place and we will get that kind of a strength which is given, which is explained in the Quran. In this, never mind anything else, even life itself may have to be laid down. But whoever lays down his life in this effort and striving, he does not die. And Quran says that death does create some kind of a fear, but this fear can be overcome through Eimaan and Saleh Deeds and by staying together. He simply should not be considered as dead. He becomes admitted to eternal life, but the way you can perceive this physical life through the senses, i.e., you can see whether such and such person is alive or not, you cannot perceive that life in this way. So Quran says that extend your imagination in the light of the Quranic value system, and then see that how your self is developing, and then see that that self-development is quite different from living life without the Quranic guidance. It is something which is outside of the physical world, although you can understand its possibility. The Quran wants us to remove the fear of death from our hearts and minds so that our latent potentials are not inhibited by any fear and grief. Because fear and grief, these slow us down. These cause some kind of anxiety and underlying fear and affect us psychologically. And Quran wants us to become free of that. Those who aspire to lead in the establishment of the divine system need to come to terms with their own physical mortality. Once they acquire a self free from the fear of death, they will be able to act on verse 111 of Surah Toba and make a tangible covenant with Allah. And this is a very important part of this journey of ours on this path. We go to the next slide. Physical death is an important sign. Continuing from the previous verses relating to human self-development, here the Quran has invited us to cast a glance on the whole of our life and its conduct and the fact of our physical death as the culmination of this stage of our life. Understanding many aspects of this verse in the light of the rest of the teaching of the Quran makes accessible those avenues of our thinking which simply cannot be accessed by non-Quranic intellects. About death, it is created factually that to rise to that level of comprehension where you start to view it as, and I've quoted this verse, Kullu nafsin zaikatul maut wa innama tuwaffawna ujurakum yawmal qiyamati faman zuhziha anin nare wa udkhila al jannata faqad faza wa mal hayatud dunya illa mataul gurur. Every self shall taste death. And this is a powerful statement of fact that at a self's level, we only taste death and then we move to the next life. So that means the self-development at which we have reached near our death, we will continue our life at that level of self-development in the hereafter. And this is something which needs to be absorbed by us by thinking through it. On the day of Qiyamah shall you be paid your recompense. And day of Qiyamah over here means that the day our book of deeds is finalized. So that means right at the time of our death, that is the time when all our connection with this world will be severed. Only he who is saved from the fire and admitted to Jannat will have succeeded. Remember, the life of this world is Mata'ul Gurur. So I put down this term Mata'ul Gurur over here, which means that don't go for immediate benefits of life. Start looking at life going beyond death. And we know that within the man-made system, everyone thinks that the life will end with death. And that is the way they live this life. If we ask them what is the definition of success, we will see it will include all material gains in this life. Quran says that look beyond it. Don't deceive yourself with these temporary gains. While these are important to live this life, but start looking at life as a one continuity going beyond your physical death. Why does Allah invite us to His guidance? Here is the reason outlined. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu astajibu lillahi walirrasuli iza da'akum lima yuhyikum. O Jamaat Momineen, give your response to Allah and His Messenger when He calls you to that which will give you life. So that means this life is different from the life which people were living ordinarily without the guidance of the Quran. Implicit here is the fact that the messenger as a human being has already acquired this new life by getting educated, trained, and achieved self-development via the Quran. And that is how he became, or he reached that position where he could impart that education, training, and self-development to others. Further reflection on death. Those who give their life while facing these dangers and confronting these calamities do not die. They simply should not be considered as dead. And this is what Quran is asking us, which means those who should not consider them as dead themselves should understand what is the importance of death and how to reach that level of self-development where death becomes equivalent of tasting it. They embrace everlasting life, but the way in which you can grasp physical life and death through your senses, i.e., you can see whether a certain individual is dead or alive. The life of those laying down their life in the path of Haqq cannot be perceived in this way. That life of theirs is beyond the domain of the senses. Though you can understand the possibility of this using your intellect, you cannot understand its form and reality. I.e., you cannot understand what kind of life that is. It has been explained about consciousness in volume 1 under verse 2:9. That this generally means grasping using the senses, i.e., sense perception. Through this means of knowledge, you cannot comprehend the form and reality of their life in the hereafter. Those laying down their life in the path of Allah are called shaheed, that is plural, is called shuhada among us. But this word has not appeared in the Quran for them. And that is a very important point, that a lot of terms which are not in line with the Quran should be avoided to be used. The term Maktuleen fi sabilillah, those who die in the path of Allah, has appeared in it for them, which has been elucidated in volume 1 under verse 216. Here it is stated that do not call them dead. In verse 3169 it is stated, do not even imagine about those people who have laid down their life in the cause of Allah that they have died. They are alive in the presence of their Rabb, and they also receive rizq there. And rizq means all kinds of sustenance which we need for the physical side as well as for the self-development. Now we go to the next slide, verse 155, guidance provided with regard to difficulties and hardships confronted on this path of Al-Haq. وَلَا نَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. In these tragedies, there will be a risk of war and killing and other dangers, because there is going to be a confrontation with Batil. And Batil is not going to accept the message of the Quran easily. Sometimes there will be a shortage of the means of provisions, and sometimes there will be harm to life and possessions. Other times there will be destruction of orchards and fields. All these dangers and losses will, in reality, provide you with the opportunity to gauge to what extent development has taken place in yourself and how much ability has been created within you to confront it. Those people who remain firm-footed in these difficult phases, there will be glad tidings of successes and prosperities for them. So before reaching this stage of physical confrontations, there is a lot of distance yet to be covered. That is to go through the Quran and then reach that stage. And that means Quran is warning us, forecasting it, that there will be problems over there, but do not concern yourself at this stage. Keep moving forward. Do not give up, and then see how things smoothen up for you, because it's all in the psyche. Once our psyche is prepared to face hardships, then human beings face it. The Quranic meaning of bala or ibtala. Now this is the term used in this verse. There are two meanings of the root of balaun, ibtalaun, finding out those things about someone which are unknown, to ascertain the true state of something or make it apparent, no matter whether it is good or bad. From the point of view of the first meaning, it will be called a test. And as we have seen above, this meaning should never be attributed to Allah. And these verses are translated normally that Allah will test you. That means Allah does not know that how human beings will behave, and He has to test them. Whereas the meaning is more related to the fact that you test your own abilities by going through various stages of your life on this path. Numerous examples of depictions of the second meaning for reality or truth to become manifested are present in the Quran. For example, in Surah Tariq it is stated, the day that all things secret will become manifested. That day when all hidden affairs will become visible, every secret will become unveiled. It is stated in Surah Al-Imran in relation to the hypocrites that the command for war is also given because that Allah may bring out the secrets of your hearts, so that whatever is hidden in your hearts may become exposed and appear in front of you. In Surah Al-Momineen, after describing the story of the people of Nuh, it is stated, we expose the stories of the various nations in this way, so that we know our own potentials, how much these have been developed. So for example, the purpose of this platform is to acquaint ourselves with the message of the Quran, its guidance, and how the system of Deen can be established by going through the book of Allah. And as we are learning, we also know that how much we have learned and how we are applying it for our own self-development. Next slide, continuing with this bala or ibtala. The battle between Haqq and Batil is ongoing in the world, and we know this is going on in our world. Despite no Deen in the world, still there are wars and conflicts taking place in which one set of human beings stand up against other set of human beings who are trying to victimize them. In this battle, different facets of life keep appearing before us in ever-changing forms. Sometimes the courage-testing aspects of our hardships, and sometimes the tranquil aspects of prosperities. What needs to be seen is what kind of character man displays in these dynamic circumstances, whether he steadfastly faces unfavorable circumstances or adopts a route of escape. Does he forget Allah during favorable circumstances, or does he follow his laws with even greater intensity? In these changing circumstances, human reaction is termed as ibtila, i.e., those opportunities in which the human character can be revealed. In Surah Al-Fajr, it is stated, when the circumstances of man are favorable, he does not look to see what causes these prosperities are the result of. He does not give these much thought, and comments that this is but a blessing from my Rabb. He bestows it on whoever he wishes. And we see this kind of expression within the sectarian Islam domain, that when people have a lot of prosperities, they don't think of yatim and miskin, they don't think of the system which is exploiting others, but they only think of their own wealth, power, and prosperity, and sometimes through words they relate it to Allah. And when his life takes another turn and sustenance becomes narrowed down for him, he does not ponder which wrong path of his this is the result of. He begins to cry and wail and says that my Rabb has humiliated and disgraced me unjustly without any reason. And sometimes people, when they face challenges within the man-made system, despite knowing the injustices existing within the man-made system, they think Allah is testing them. Allah does not test anyone. We test our own abilities. After this, the Quran informs us that this reaction of such an individual is wrong, and it is based on ignorance or deliberate ignorance, because a lot of these people, we see that when their attention is invited towards the Quran, they refuse to come to the Quran. There is an established procedure and law for everything here, and these changes in circumstance take place according to these laws. Now we go to the last verse of today's presentation, verse 156. When confronted with challenges on this path of Allah in this world, keep in mind the Quranic guidance 24/7. And this is what Quran wants us, that we should be all the time relating all our thoughts and deeds towards the Quran if we want the system of Deen should materialize within our lifetime. Allazina idha asabathum musibatun qalu inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We can see the sequence in which this verse has appeared in today's presentation. It started from education, teaching, and self-development. Then it went through Dhikr, and then it went through all the death of laying down life in the path of Allah, and then it came to this, that on this path you will face certain challenges because of the wrong system around you. So that is the context in which we should analyze this verse. During these multitudes of adversities and mountains of calamities, these are the people whose sights never move away in other directions from this focus, that the purpose of our life is to establish the system of Allah. We have devoted ourselves to this purpose. Never mind possessions and life, we have sold it all into the hand of Allah. And this is the culmination of making a covenant with Allah. This is simply not our own. Hence, what hesitation can we have in handing it over to its real owner, that is Allah? And that is what it means, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Let the difficulties come, or every step will be taken in the direction of that very aim. That is firmly committed to this path, not wavering. This is Sirat-e-Mustaqim. It doesn't go in circles, it goes straight, and it is an established path. That is our sole aim and goal, and we will return to it in every condition. We will not turn in any other direction by becoming fearful of hardships. The common translation of this verse is, who say when afflicted with calamity, to Allah we belong and to Him is our return. And we can see that in this translation, there is nothing mentioned that how did that calamity come. The world of man-made system is full of calamities. And to Allah we belong. We do not belong to Allah. We are in the presence of Allah all the time. So there is no question of physically returning to Him. So this is a very poor translation which is not related to the context of this verse with the previous verses and in the overall context of the Quran as a system of Deen. Now on this slide, I have gone through the meaning of musibat, which is the term word which has appeared in this verse. Its root is given here, means to fall, to come down. Sawab is the opposite of error, i.e. the right thing. Ibn Faras has said that it basically means for something to come down and reach its destination. Sawab is for a thing to reach its right place. Sahamun Sahib is that arrow which hits the target. Musiba is that arrow which finds its target. From this, an accident came to be known as musiba. Tasweeb means to verify something as correct. As-saib means rain. The Quran has used it, for example, in this verse 18. Some applications. In this verse of Surah An-Nahl 34, فَأَصَابَهُمْ سَيِّئَاتُ مَا عَمِلُوا وَحَاقَ بِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا بِهِ يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. But the evil results of their deeds overtook them, and that at which they had scoffed hemmed them in. The meaning of a saib is the taking place of some event. And it also means wasabahul kibaru, when old age arrived. Wakala swaba, and he says the correct thing. In Surah An-Nisa, Fadl has appeared as opposite to musiba. Musiba will mean economic deprivation or failure. Ma asaba min musibatin illa biznillah. So over here it is linked to law of Allah. Whatever events, incidents occur in the universe, all are according to the law of Allah. So we should avoid using it for any other purpose than what is noted in the Quran. The meaning of Ilaihi Raji'un. The root of Turja'un is given here. The meanings of Raju'an are to turn over, come back, to return. Raja alayhi means to turn to someone for help. And the meaning of Raj'un is for results to become established. These are the meanings which have particular significance. According to the first meaning, Rijat ilallah will mean to turn towards the law of Allah for the solution at every stage in life. Very important that we go back to Allah's laws in the light of the Quran and see that the success and failure is because of what? Which value? And according to the second, it will mean the manifestation of the consequences of human deeds according to the law of requital. This word has appeared numerous times in the Quran in these meanings. This exposition of it will appear clearly before us in the relevant verses. For the present, we consider it necessary to mention those two wrong meanings of Inna Ilaihi Raji'un. We consider it necessary to mention those two wrong meanings of Inna Ilaihi Raji'un, according to which gross misconceptions are created about the being of Allah and man himself. The prevalent concept among us about life in the hereafter is that when human beings will be given life again after death, then there will be a very big court in which all the people will be gathered. Allah will be established on the throne of the court. Every person will be presented to him as an accused. There he will be judged according to his accountability, and verdicts will be announced from the direction of Allah. Criminals will be consigned to Jahannam, and those who are not proven to be criminals will be made to enter Jannat. So this is the prevalent kind of a concept among sectarian Muslims. Further elucidation. There is no doubt in this that the Quran has also drawn such a map for the reward and punishment of deeds according to the law of requital. But as has already been stated, whatever has been reported in the Quran about the life in the hereafter is explained metaphorically, not literally. If it is accepted that there will in reality be a physical arena and Allah will be established there on the seat of justice and criminals will be brought into His presence, then from this it will become essential for Allah to be confined to space and time. And we know that according to the Quranic concept, Allah is not confined to the space and time. In fact, we in our wildest imagination, we simply cannot what Allah is. We can only understand Him through the concept given in the Quran. Such a concept about Allah is contrary to Quranic concepts. He is beyond these limits and out with these confines. Within the sectarian Islam, there are certain narrations which explain the throne of Allah and they put Him in some kind of a physical form. Thus, the meaning of being brought into His presence or of going towards Him, ilayhi raji'un, will be of the manifestation of results according to the law of requital of Allah. So this is what it means that these results will appear according to the deeds. How this will take place after death, what its practical procedure will be, and what its form will be, we cannot comprehend at our present level of consciousness. At this point in time, it will be necessary to understand this much, that this will not take place in some particular venue. The true meaning of ilayhi raji'un, returning to Allah, can be understood through an example like this, that an escaped convict is at large, running and hiding to escape arrest. An announcement is made about him by the court that you cannot run anywhere. Sooner or later you will have to return here, and there is no escape from this. This is what is meant by human beings ultimately returning to the court of Allah, that is ilayhi raji'un. So nobody can escape the laws of Allah. We all have to face the consequences of our deeds. Next slide, few more aspects of inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, the last part of this verse. The other incorrect concept of ilayhi raji'un is the creation of those who practice mysticism, according to which it is claimed that the human self is a part of the divine self, which by separating from it has become buried in the quagmire of matter. Now the objective of life becomes that after escaping from this quagmire of matter, this part should rejoin the divine self. A detailed discussion regarding this non-Quranic belief of mysticism has taken place under verse 1.5 in volume 1. It's worth going through it. And that which we say on hearing the news of the death of someone, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and from which is meant the expression of extreme grief, sadness and sorrow, shock and pain, as has been noted in the explanation of verse 16 and related verses, that is, which we have gone through today, 154 to 156. This is a great earth-shattering proclamation of life-giving, revolutionary, supreme zeal, limitless passion and joy, which has been unfortunately turned into a message for the outpouring of grief after a death. This part of the verse should never be used on the death of anyone. And we have seen that in any case, Quran is telling Momineen that you will only taste death. So why there should be a grief and anxiety? So the verses should be used in their proper context, and Quran forbids us to use the verses other than the correct context in which these have appeared in the Quran. When Deen turns into a religion, then its every life-giving concept turns into a death-inviting belief. Religion is nothing more than sermons and graveyards, whereas Deen is the claimant of persistent striving in the arena of life. Because by becoming fully conscious of the use of these verses at the right time and place within the context of the system of Deen helps develop ourselves. But if we unwittingly, without consciously paying attention to it, say these things, then this is not good and these do not contribute towards our self-development. Few concluding remarks on today's presentation. In order to fully comprehend this verse, we need to come to grips with the fact that the addressee of Allah in the Quran is the human intellect and its reasoning attribute. For example, the Quran has declared, Inna Allaha la yughayyiru ma bi qawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Verily, Allah will not change the condition of a nation until they change their own selves. So that means if we are not changing ourselves, we are not developing ourselves, we are of no use to the system of Deen as far as Allah is concerned and as far as His book is concerned. It's an extremely serious matter that we are fully in control of our thoughts and deeds all the time. It invites us to rationally analyze in detail the world in which we are born and question the environment and circumstances with which we are confronted every day. The state of development which we need to achieve includes our ability to find out the value and law applicable to each and every event coming to our notice in our individual as well as collective life. For example, this war is going on in Iran between the US and Iran, and we should look at it in the light of the Quran. Though there is no system of Deen over here, but obviously this war is going on as far as the consequences of the law of requital are concerned. So we should add precision to our thoughts and to our analysis. This is called, for example, in the case of Yusuf, that is the messenger Yusuf. We have gone through this verse under that surah. وَكَذَلِكَ يَجْتَبِيكَ رَبُّكَ وَيُعَلِّمُكَ مِنَ التَّأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ وَيُتِمُّ نِعْمَتَهُ. Thus will your Rabb, and these are the words from the messenger Yaqub, who is the father of the messenger Yusuf. Thus will your Rabb choose you and teach you the knowledge of the interpretation of events, that is, issues of life, and accomplish His favors. And we have seen in his story, though a small part of his life is depicted over there, that how much sabr and istiqamah, that is, patience and steadfastness, he displayed in his life. And then ultimately success came in his direction. The Quran invites us to fully comprehend the seriousness of our life and the precision of its commands, which define scales, and not take our conversations and deeds lightly. It has warned us, for example, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu lima taquluna ma la taf'alun. O Momineen, do not say those words which you are not going to do, i.e., be aware of what you think, say, and do in your life. With that, we come to the end of this talk. Thanks for your time and for sharing this today. Please feel free to share it with your contacts. You may like to subscribe for future talks related to the Quranic system of Deen, that you will be able to overcome those.